Muchas gracias, Román. Buenos días a todos, gracias por venir.
Hello, Roman. Hello to you all. Good morning. Well, hopefully my talk will not take longer than 2 hours, but I don't promise anything. Right, giving a talk, a presentation, is sometimes frightening, so I have a trick for that, which is, well, preparing the first part of it just to break the ice, and then, well, to see what happens in the end. Well, anyway, I'll see how I do. Roman, I have a question to start off. Broadly speaking, how many people do we have in here, roughly? Estimate number? Well, Roman is saying, okay, that they've sold like 1,190 tickets. So let us say that there are between 100 and 900 people, where some people have a hangover, so they do not count. So, for instance, such as myself, by the way. So 800, 900 is quite a round figure, which is the approximate number of people that should change the status of their Facebook from single to dead if the systems of an Airbus 380 would have a problem at an inconvenient time. So this is one of the reasons why I have joined, I developed an interest in the issue of aviation security 6 years ago. Because I thought that if someone exploits your exchange, steals your email account from you or everything, it's just a pain in the ass. But if someone just destroys your plane, it's slightly worse. So, as I say, I started to got interested in aviation security because I'm a commercial pilot. If you just didn't know, let me say that again to you. I'm a pilot, so I'm very much updated about aviation, all the new systems, etc. And then there came a time that I asked myself, well, how safe, how secure is this? Then I went down to reading documentations and to get information and to search, and then I found security and security. However, in English, when they talk about security, when they go and say safety, I cannot really translate this, because if I say safety, it's not safety. In Spanish sounds exactly the same, but in English is different. Well, in Spanish, or in English, sorry, that's where they talk about safety is the quality of an aviation system that enables the aircraft to cope with any malfunctioning without affecting any other elements. When we talk about safety, the enemy is an accident. But when we talk about security, we're talking about the capability of that very same system to face or to resist targeted attacks. And in case those attacks are successful, to offer protection or to give protection to the rest of the systems in case there is a compromise. So in aviation, safety has always been the word used, thinking about safety as safety. However, the problem is that aviation systems are making progress and nowadays are being updated, modernized, so to speak, and they are not taking into account that they should include security within all their safety processes. And okay, I'll try to fix my mic. Can you hear me now? Good. Oh, it has just gone before my eye, which is not very comfortable. Okay, better now. Oh.
¿Puedes coger esto de aquí, Monto?
No te quiero tocar.
Vale. No, hombre, toca, no pasa nada. Bueno, arreglados los problemas técnicos.
Okay, after fixing technical issues, well, that was safety, I didn't lose an eye. Right. As I say, I was driven by this interest to do research on aviation. And that's the reason why I'm showing this in one of my first slides. What is important about this is the mantra of all the conferences and talk that I am giving. I try to make the aviation world aware of the fact of adding security within in safety. It is not that old systems do not have any security, but what I want to say is that news are telling me that things are not being changed, and anything that is newly implemented do not include, in terms of safety, do not include any security. Well, this morning I read an email about the aviation school that I attended, and they were telling me, they were inviting me to attend a number of talks, and well, I had to pay like 200 euros, etc., to introduce like the new technologies for the implementation of two new technologies on the cockpit, Google Glass and a smartwatch. So I got really frightened when I read those news, because I think that, well, for Google Glass to be helpful in a cockpit, well, other than for reading your email, there have to be connection with the aviation system. So Google Glasses do not have any secure connection system, and well, they are very likely to be connected to the aviation system through Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, and then I leave it there. So now, my presentation is divided in two parts. So the first part will be very fast. I will be showing you 4 slides. We'll be reviewing with you one of the attacks that I started before, and then a new one that I've been working on in recent months. Part number one. Well, very briefly, the attack is divided, or well, I have divided it in 3 pieces. So we are talking about aviation. I just divided it into the standard phases of any aviation attack: discovery, gathering information, and exploit. For each of them, specific aviation protocol is used for that. I don't have the time to dwell on that, but you can see a hyperlink where I explain that. Well, I explained that in English, but anyway, it's a more detailed information. So during the discovery phase, we have the control tower, we have the flying aircraft, and then we have the passive monitoring. In the discovery phase, you really want to find out the number of targets that are at hand, and then an aviation protocol is used. The name of it is ADS, which is the big brother of traditional radars. And it's instead of sending out a final, waiting for it to rebound and to come back, it sends out through digital protocol a request several times per second to all the planes within the radar, and asking for all the information. Give me all the information that you have about your current status. Then the system gathers information from all the aircrafts, and then I say, well, and the plane says, okay, I'm this plane, I'm flying at this speed, at this altitude, this and that. The problem with that is that this protocol is lacking any type of safety. Well, if you are thinking about any security measure whatsoever, you will not find it in here. Therefore, this allows us to do many things that we have already presented in Tahoe and many other places, because we can put in a list or table or whatever all the aircrafts that are available at that moment to be audited, okay, so to speak. So we can do it ourselves through our own hardware system, USB, 20 euros, an antenna. We can receive locally all the information from all the aircrafts within our radius, and we can also use an open free radar system, which are publicly available. You can get them from a website, for your Android, for iPhone, etc. So we all have all the possible targets within our specific radius. So the objective of the phase now in gathering information is that out of all those possible likely targets, so let us notice or take a look at a subgroup that will be likely to receive an attack. If we have an exploit for Linux, we are not going to launch it for Windows. So if we have an exploit for 737, we are not going to change it, to launch it towards 320, because that would be like changing your Facebook status, from live to dead. And now, this is ACARS, and this is protocol of aviation, and it helps exchange information between control tower and the aircraft, I don't know, maintenance people on ground, etc. So it does not only exchange information or mails or how are you today or I have a hangover from last night party. It is also used to communicate with the flight modes of the plane without any human intervention. So for instance, update of data. Well, aircrafts have, yes, information systems, and those systems can be updated. So, if you, because you know that A cars have the same security measures that the previous one, that the previous protocol, or even less than that, if you monitor passively all those communications that you may be interested in, and then you start to notice all these exchanges of information between the databases and the systems, they take place every couple of days, and then you gather information, and then you realize that each aircraft has a different database with on a binary format, which is slightly different. So at the end of the day, you could do kind of like a monitoring of the OS just by listening. You listen for days and days. Oh, do I have 3 minutes left? Oh, thank you. It doesn't mean that I have spoken for 3 minutes or that there are 3 minutes left to finish my presentation. Well, anyway, by monitoring, listening to this type of communication, you can guess the type of, what they have, the type of systems that they have on the plane, whether they are Honeywell, this and that. So, first of all, we had 150 targets. Now we have 15 targets. And then we move on to the exploit phase, and then the party starts. Exploit phase objective is to take control of the system, and then we use ACARs for that. And as I mentioned before, well, it has no security measures whatsoever, so we just send out our update to the database update. So now we have like 350 AIAs. So when it comes to reading it, the program is not perfect, because it was made, back in the 80s. They have safety, they do not have any security. Then you just enter a shell code, and then we take control of our targets. And then our work is to establish a written communication channel, etc. The only detail here, well, I'll show you later on. You want exploit to come out well, to be successful. Those of you who attended the Corel Dance training course, do not mistake the bytes. All right, and that's the first attack. It was presented 1.5 years ago, officially, but it was previous or earlier than that. Well, this lacks a number of things. Well, the worst of them all is complexity. Well, I wanted to show this in a beautiful manner, so I also showed an aircraft. This is the necessary hardware to make the attack. Several computers, antennas, SR systems. And yes, it is true, everyone gave lots of importance to the fact that you could do it from your mobile phone. At the end of the day, mobile phone was just a remote control. You need an interface. So, this is the hardware that you need. And at the same time, we are talking about ASD, ASCADs. So actually, the people who should be doing this work, that is to say, people such as us, are not very much aware of aviation technologies. And some people, not strangely, get lost. So therefore, that's why we decided to improve an attack. Well, anyway, but out of consideration towards the aviation authorities, I try to share the hardest version, with them. So the objective of the evolution of the attack was to simplify the complexity of the hardware and then to make its understanding easier. And how? Well, as you can guess easily, by an operator, an aircraft operator, that, well, it has to go on the plane to actualize the FMS, and then he has to take all the hardware, log in the database, and then send out information from ACARS, ADS, B. No, that is just impossible. That's a headache. People who does that with a legitimate end needs to have like ease of use interfaces, and every time that a company airline is set up, they do not install antennas all over the world. That would be, really expensive. Well, there are 3 companies that offer this type of services, ground services. These are the companies, and they offer any service associated to aviation to clients. Clients could be airports, airlines, or us. So, for instance, those of you who fly around Europe, I don't know whether you've noticed that the computer, that on which they check your boarding pass, they have a logotype of SIDA on the back, okay? So they are everywhere. So these 3 companies sell. There are only a few of them, fierce competition, that is a billionaire business. So how can they be better than their competitors? Well, by delivering easier services and, more efficient. And then I said, well, if I take advantage of the infrastructure that all of them offer me, I can send out my exploits worldwide. I wouldn't need so much hardware, so many computers, so much know-how. I would use standard technologies. Why is that? Well, these people, they said, okay, use the web browser to update the FMS of your flying plane. Send a text message to the pilot, etc., etc., etc. That is to say, ease of use technologies. Easier to use. ACARs, ADSs are complicated. So this is what these companies use. So I just devoted half an hour to take a look at the security of one of these interfaces, primarily the web-based interfaces. Well, they also have a Java application. I focused on the web-based application. Okay, and this was part of the results of what I got. Having Direct, a multimillionaire company offering services across the US and other countries in the world. They have a web-based interface, then you have to enter username and the password. If you give that to them, okay, welcome. You are a glorious user of your airline company. You can update all your fleet through your mobile laptop computer or your desktop computer just by doing a click with your mouse, okay? So, and this is the script that I have, from the login page. Well, with that scripting and a demo that I will show you, which is like a bit of a nonsense, I feel a bit ashamed of showing such a stupid demo in a conference of this quality. So, only by that, from there, I can either send a message to the pilot or to the FMS system on the aircraft. So Honeywell Global Data Center, exactly the same. I have my interface, my mobile phone, and a microsite seating, and I have them from the 2014. From the login page, I didn't even spend like €3 for someone to do the labonetics, and then what can you get? Well, nothing you can do with that. You can do send messages, view position reports, advanced search, actualize the systems, update the systems, all that on a beautiful map, this and that. Wonderful. When I did my first talk, one of the first things that FDA and European agencies used to tell me was, "Oh, you cannot do that on your mobile phone. No, 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 no. You just want to make news." And I said, "Come on, you are selling it to your clients, and do you dare to tell me that I cannot do that on my mobile phone? I can do that from my mobile phone. I can exploit a website from my phone." After that, okay, everything that we've seen before, you can do that on your phone, ordinary computer, and a good browser. Well, you have to do SQL injection. Well, you have to do scripting. That's the only thing you have to do. Just log on to the website. The only limitation is that you have to exploit the user. You really need to get, the usernames of the airline company that you want to audit, or just get the full database, and then you get that. So that minor, that cheesy demo, it's here now. So just let me show you, how simple it is.
He vuelto, señores. Vale. Que ahora no veo nada.
Back. Oh, sorry, I cannot see anything. Okay, on the left, you can see are indirect. Okay, so to the right, you see a headset in one of my terminals. So that is the official website, and then you just boost a program, you start a program, and then it starts to do the listening. Then you just insert like an scripting of certain scripting, and as it connects by using our link, well, we just introduce the JavaScript, and then the guy he enters his username, his password, and then you see how it is updated. Then you go on to login. Well, you may log in or not. I didn't log in. Okay, so we get the data. Then we take a look at the data, but we have captures. And look, user, name, password, super secret one. As it is, as simple as that. It is so simple. With that and the right exploit, we have just audited all the aircraft of that airline company. Okay.
He vuelto. Bien. Ahora sí. Parte 2.
Okay. Part 2 of my presentation, faster, stronger, and higher. This is a new attack that I found out of coincidence. And by using more straightforward, simpler technologies related to aviation allowed me to drastically increase the number of targets, easiness of attack. Okay, I'll tell you how it went, because it is a good, fun story, and it really, shows the weaknesses in terms of security. Right, once I was, browsing on the internet, which means, I often go into aviation websites to see what I can crack or what I can find, and then out of the sudden found a link that says, apply for AIM disc, and I said, I don't know what that is, but I want to request one. Well, then, like a questionnaire, name, surname, address. Yeah, I opened a false email account, and then at the end of the form, I noticed that they were not asking me for a credit card. And I said, no credit card? And I said, okay, you send me two. And then, yes, because they were not charging anything. And I said, well, then I went to have a coffee, and then came back in 2 hours. Then out of a sudden, a telephone, long number, and then I answered the phone, and someone said, well, look, if you were American, this wouldn't be happening to you, but because you are European, okay, well, to give you the city that you have just requested, we need to have the registration number of your aircraft. Then I found an excuse, to tell him, and then, well, we both the story ended happily. Okay, so I forgot about that, game over, and then the next day I came home and I had a packet, a parcel that has reached my home, and it was extremely urgent. And then this man, he liked me, and then, he just sent me out the disc. And less than 24 hours, he gave it to me. 45 minutes later, then, the next day I got a CD driver or a CD player. Well, no one said that, doing research on aviation was easy. Right, so I say I played the disc, and I said, what the fuck did you send me? Well, I had just let myself driven by my, I have an obsession for compiling things. Okay. Then I said, okay, I'll just search on Google what an AMI disk is. And I said, to my, okay, and I found out that it is airline modifiable information, which is a technology which is already being used by the most important airlines or aircraft manufacturers such as Airbus, this and that, Boeing, Airbus, etc. And basically they use this system to modify functionalities of the software and without having to change the system. Well, which is just a service pack update, okay? They have just discovered it. And it seems that this disk has some information that the operators through using like a free software can modify and upload on the right system and to increase, modify and reduce the functionality of the system to adapt it better to the needs of the users, that is to say, to sell at the end of the day. Then I kept on searching and then I realized, I discovered that this belongs to the family of LSP, loadable software parts. You know, this is so difficult to translate into Spanish. Anyway, this is made up of OPS, OPC, and AMI. Well, this is for you to be clear that this is that belongs to a bigger family. MI belongs to a bigger family, a family of LSP, and then here we have the updating of the black box, updating of all the elements on the plane. So we have the operational program software, operational program configuration. Some of them allow us to open like new windows, well, for different shifts. So, well, you can change the contents of those windows. Databases that were not in the previous graph, you know, databases that we mentioned before, and under AMI, well, which is exactly the same. Well, we have exactly the same thing, but this time for the operator. Well, you can change the code, configuration, the contents of the windows, etc. And as well, this looks good, you know, for an attack. So this would be likely, or this could be used as an attack. If I can inject the configuration code in a system, this looks like good fun. And I say, okay, which is the vector of attack? I started to search how to use LSP, how to, they are updated, and attack vector often are 3.5 disks. You know, it was so difficult for me to find a DVD player, and now I had to find a 3.5 disc. And I said, this wouldn't work. And then, well, this looked like the second game over of my attack. Anyway, because I am so stubborn, and I said, okay, I got the disc. So, well, I want to do something with it. And I said, what do I need to make use of that? Okay, I have to upload this remotely and wireless. And then I asked the one who knows, that is to say, our Google. Yeah, Google knows it all. And I say, how can I charge AMI wireless on an aircraft? And then Google said, first page, first search result, they said, okay, visit Teledyne Technology. This is not true. You know, these are a number of companies offering this type of service. I understand, if you have a technology that allows you to do all that, then at the end of the day, you have to go with a disk, you know, and uploading it aircraft by aircraft. If Teledyne can help me do that in a more agile manner, well, I go with Teledyne. All right. Let us see how Teledyne does all that. Well, we have Teledyne Lodestar 7 Enterprise. Basically, you upload floppy disks or CDs. You can use web-based technologies to distribute instantly these updates across aircrafts of your company via wireless links. All that by clicking on a button. Well, you can see a graph there. We can see a man really proud before his computer, opening his search engine, prepares the updates, clicks on the button, then through, well, wireless it reaches the computer, and then this device distributes it across the aircrafts. It seems that someone has done well, has done our job. And then I started to feel happy when I could see all that. And I said, okay, let us see what else do they have to offer. So there's a wireless data, Wi-Fi technology, 3G and 4G technology. If it is Wi-Fi, okay, then, well, it just logs on to the Wi-Fi, but if it is 3G, 4G, okay, it gathers the cellular radios using enhanced HSPA. Well, just in case you don't know, each of these aircrafts have been given a public IP address. If you want to know anything about wireless, how to attack wireless, talk to Catarasco brothers. So if you want to know about 3G, 4G, talk to those two people over there that they will just be in one of the panelists, okay? They will tell you what they have and then you will see what aircrafts have. This looks really promising because I know that Wi-Fi's and 3Gs and 4Gs, you can hack them. Yes, because, well, the combination is encrypted, and I say, well, I cannot really modify your communications. I want to send my own communication, especially because I know that you have a public IP address. And I said to myself, well, this looks so nice, so cool, so modern. Who uses it? Well, to summarize, all the modern aircrafts that have been built since the 70s up until today, used by more than 40 airlines worldwide. Apparently, the airlines nowadays are over 100. So, well, I have to drink some tea, like calming tea after reading this. And then I said to myself, "Oh, this looks so good. This looks really cool." And I said, well, what are the systems that you can update with that? Then I log on to the website again, and I found this whole family of systems. Well, ask him, 3, 2, 1, poof. The next day, when I was discharged from the hospital, and I went back to that, and I say, FMS, I know it already, no problem. Flight management system, FMS, no problem. When it says ACMS, looks like air conditioning, but this is not air conditioning. Then central management system. This sounds good fun, eh? I don't need to give you an explanation. You can get a feel of it. AFS, centralized full display system. So all these systems could end up being audited, by using new technologies as well as old and well-known technologies such as MMS, FMS, or Mark III CMU. And I said, well, I have all that. It is time to accept the challenge. And then I said, what would be my attack like? Design, control tower, or I don't know, maintenance center, whatever. Ground, control system, whether they are on air or on the ground. Okay, if they are on the ground, well, you just look for Wi-Fi, control access points, and then, well, you know that the aircraft has a public IP, okay, you just send out your communication and it will reach. And then we also have an AMI disk that I got in the mail for free in 24 hours. So I have the software that will be injected in the aircraft in a legitimate manner, because in another talk I told you how I got the codes for FMS, etc. So delivery is easy. So the ordinary, airlines, person, computer, file, then the file is transmitted wireless, so you see here the yellow waves, and notice the top right corner box, okay? So that you see there, yes, that is an iPad. That is a mobile phone as well. Yes, them, when they are selling the product, I said, you can do that on your mobile phone. So when this is going to say electronic flight bag, basically it's an iPad with application to interact right away with this. But then they go and say, You're going to tell me that, no, you cannot do it. I'm not going, but because I just don't have the time, to tell you how to use Wi-Fi or 3G to reach aircraft. Tarasco brothers talks or the talks that will be given after me. So because what you we know that whenever a computer has an open port and IP address, you can be attacked. You all know that. Now, Google, who uses MMI? Elsia, Gufe, Lanas, Heinendies, Northern Airlines, blah blah blah. And then when you ask that to Google, well, these company are so proud of themselves that whenever someone decides to use the technologies, they just put it in the news. And now we have a list of possible targets. That's it. Then the last detail. So, how do I get the final code? The final code of the system that I want to update. The one with vulnerability. Do you buy it? No. Don't spend your money on it. It would be difficult to buy it. Or you just ask Google or the previous companies or the companies that we've seen before. That is to say, the companies that are using that technology. Then I went to Shodan to look for those, to search for those companies. In Shodan, you find the web servers, and then you will see that maintenance people, in most of the cases, have web-based servers with a list of directory, documentation, software tools, updates, etc., with no password, because having a password would be a difficult thing to have. Then you download the latest updates, and then you have your code already, the real code, firmware code. Another things that they gave me back and were not happy with me when I gave my first talk is that I used that very same code but in a simulator. Well, because they said, okay, we sell training software or flight simulation software for FSM, and then, well, same code, same failure. But then when they were not happy, I said, no, that only works in a flight simulator. And I said, okay, this time let us do it in the real simulator, or in the real one. And then this time I said, if I have the source code A with a flaw in a specific point, and if I compile it for Windows, it will stay there. But if I compile it for Linux, it will continue to be there. And they said, no. And then I said, okay, I wanted to check that out. So I had this firmware, and I had the same code but compiled for Windows with a beautiful interface. Well, the code of the FSM of these people, they compile it for Windows, but because this is a training system, they emulate a number of systems that SMFs needs like to operate well. And then of course they emulate, the flying time. And then I used tools such as Radar, etc., to find out how they were doing that. I didn't really need a real simulation. I just wanted the system to work. But this time I had the same code compiled for a different platform. And as I say, I wanted it to execute itself in this VX works. So I did very simple software. Well, the FMS starts, and then I only had to program the same systems but for a much simpler version. And I said, okay, fantastic. Well, the only thing that could ruin everything that I did, it was that the actual operating system, the VXWorks, is full of anti-exploit measures. And I said, okay, let us take a look at VXWorks. We are the best ones, this and that, look at us. And I said, everything that you will see in there, again, as I told you before, safety. Any process that is run on any VXWorks process, if something goes wrong, the failure will not have repercussion, will not impact any other process running on the same machine. But I said, what happens if you attack it? If you attack a system and then you want to interfere with the rest, etc., that's where they fail. That's where they fail because they are protected against safety, but we attack security. Well, HD Muir will give us a talk from Metasploit. We'll tell you more about that. And then, well, all applications run as kernel threads with all the privileges. Everything runs with the highest privileges. Well, let me tell you that there are newest versions of VxWorks, but I only had 5.51, and this is the one that I audited. The latest one is 6.9, but in aviation they use VxWorks 653 for aviation, which is slightly different, but I will tell you about that in another talk, not today. All right, I had the code. I had the RTVS simulated systems. Well, the only thing that I had to do was to look for the vulnerability. Okay, let me show you one more demo. Okay, I'm back. Oh, sorry for the cameraman. I have to move, okay, to see what's on the screen. So this is the content of the CD they sent me out. Well, this file, FMS, node directory, looking at the contents of the file, this is what we get. Basically, it tells you to visit as directory, that file, yes, HCR file, and a bigger file, database. This looks better. And I said, well, let us be good ones, okay, and see what's in that file that we've been told before. Take a look at it. And then it is pointing at the ADS database. Okay, I took a quick look at it. Lots of white spaces, blank spaces. And these are the data from the onboard systems. So this is the original database, proof of concepts, and an exploit. So remember that I live in Germany. If I were to show the exploit or the details of exploit, I will be put into prison. So I have a limitation there. Okay, this is what happens in Germany for you to know. Right. Now, let us take a look at the content of that POC database. These data are quite helpful. So you look for the Japan chain, then you can see that this has been changed with AS. Well, bastards. So we have development environment for VxWorks 5.1. Okay, these I will leave anonymous. And then AV files. Okay, these are all the components that I programmed. And this is a terminal for VxWorks 5.1. Okay, all the architecture is different. We see all the files, all the systems that have to be there for FMS to work. So we start the FMS with a software program that starts all the systems and then loads all the databases. It parses a number of fields, this and that. Perfect. We have loaded database. AMI. Perfect. Well, I should not have done that. Okay, but let us try to break it. Okay, let us upload the file that an evil person created. Okay. Okay. We start the crash, and then all the fields are being parsed. We can see parsing of all the fields. Japan program counter. Are you aware of this program counter? Now database AMI. We go to Japan 202000. Can you remember that some things come back? I haven't shown you the exploit. Well, I didn't dare to change this last demo. Now we will execute that exploit. Well, it is exploitable, as you will see. And now all of you will see one thing, okay, but then you will read something different. By the time I will do parsing on Japan, you will read T2 Finland 2012, and then we will all read RootedCon Madrid. Well, but this is the end of the demo that shows how you can exploit a system in a purely realistic system using the AMI, and then well, the data that the actual vendor sent me home in 24 hours. Okay, demo over. And now, extra bit for all of you. Okay, just brief presentation of Catstein project. I worked with my company to do more realistic demo. Unfortunately, I couldn't bring it with me. I could not put it in my hand language. So this is the project, Catstein project, which is basically a drone, one of those drones that we are all used to seeing and using. And well, I'll tell you how I show it for my demos. Right. How did it all happen? I was all the time asking my boss, can you buy me an airplane? Can you buy me an airplane? And she said, no, I cannot buy you an airplane. You cannot have one. So I continued to do, to use my simulations of VxWorks. And as I told you before, if the explode fails, there is no problem. A crash, well, no problem. But what happens if we are talking about a real airplane? Am I going to kill people? Are we going to change the Facebook status of all the passengers? Well, I had concerns. I was anxious, and I said, I know I cannot have an airplane. My boss would never buy it to me. He's German, but he looks from Catalonia, like really hand-sided people. Those people who do not want to spend any money. Well, I come from Catalonia, so I was just going against myself and my people. Anyway, what are the parts of the aircraft that I'm interested in? Well, I'm not interested, in the catering system, but I'm interested in the sensors, automatic pilot, etc. So, I cannot have a plane, and I cannot have that, but I can have a drone with exactly the same sensors for inertial, GPS, temperature, speed. I have the real code of FMS, and then I also have the autopilot of the drone. And I say, if my boss were ready to buy me a drone, I could use the drone with real sensors. I don't have to emulate anything. I just take a plate, I put FMS with WXWorks or VxWorks, and then I will end up with a drone with an FMS of a helicopter that is controlled by FMS. So real FMS, or a device which flies, which is not an airplane, it's a flying object. I am closer to reality now. So, and then I put imagination to it. This is Catstein project. On one face, I have the flying drone. Then on my computer, I have the cockpit. So, and then telemetry communication. Me, from my computer as a pilot, I tell the drone what I want it to do for me. And I do that through telemetry, not through commands, not through controls. Second phase, we are working on it, it's going well. And then we put exactly the same that we had on the computer on the actual drone, okay, on a plate. So basically, it's a drone that has been cloned or that mimics a real airplane, and the flight systems that that aircrafts have from Honeywell or whatever. So Roman, by the way, I'm finishing for your information. So a last demo, this one here. And well, basically after this demo, my presentation would be over. Okay, give me a sec. I'll change screens. Okay, cameraman, I'm moving again. Okay. So we can see 3 different screens. Well, there are many components here, but it is easy to follow. Right on the left, well, you cannot really read it well, but anyway, on the left we have the cockpit of the drone. We see what the drone is doing, we handle that. Then right in the middle we have VxWorks OS, where we have the FMS. So let us say that the part in the middle is the real system, and to the right we have our exploit. That's the one that I use to exploit audit aircraft, etc. So this is what we do. The airplane is standing still, and then we start the FMS, and then CATS from CATSTEIN. Then it contacts the drone, sends out telemetry data, controls things, okay, and then it starts to run, to work. Now, in full exploit to the right, oh, I did not anticipate this, okay, not enough resolution. Anyway, we are selecting an airplane to be attacked from that list, okay? So that is plane number 1, you select it, then you click on this exploit, and then notice what is exploiting, and then the central part when we have the FMS, you know. And then we can see what we are exploiting, and then a new MII file is being uploaded. So it starts to parse it, to do parsing and parsing and parsing. Then we go to the Japan field, and it stays there, uploading Japan. And then Simon says, hey, I'm here. Well, I'm here at your disposal. Okay, hold on, Roman. I haven't finished yet. The good fun part is still to come. So we have Simon. Well, this is kind of insulting Simon. So Simon is there waiting for orders and instructions to follow. So we go to the right, pilot editor. We select the pilot to apply a new flying plan, a new flight plan, and then it starts to do that payload. Then, out of the sudden, payload successful, and Simon says, applying a new flight plan. And now, look how on the left our drone says, hello, I'm going for a walk. And then to the right, we can see on our map what the drone is doing on real time. So we use Simon, and then Simon tells us that our drone is moving about in these airports, and then, well, the drone is going for a walk. So that got Stein live. And this is the end of my presentation.
Bien, esto es lo que yo llamo un game over. ¿Vale?
This is what I refer to as a game over. So before I move on to the last slide, when I thank you all, when I ask for questions, well, I know that questions can be really tricky, okay? So if you have questions, I will be showing you photographs and video of the false, shootings and takes. If you really want to see that, well, truly, okay, well, last slide, and as I say, well, as I take questions, I will be showing you this making of or whatever, okay, these are my contact details.
Sí. Aquí en el centro.
Hello, I'm here. You are a commercial pilot. What happens with vessels? Does that work for vessels in the same way? Yes, well, marine, transportation, aviation, they share the same mindset, the same type of technology. Well, short ago, an Italian and another man from Trent Micro, they talked about the equivalent of ADS, and yes, for the positioning of vessels, yeah, the same thing could be applied to vessels. But I don't give so much talks per year. Well, sometime I will switch to vessels, to ships. Well, this is Berlin Tempelhof airport. I live very close to it. That's where I do all the testings, all the proofs. Oh, shitty program. Oh, I was expected to be able to change the slide. Well, anyway, ask me a question in the meantime. Well, I was about to, I don't know, to thank you for your paper. So, is it illegal to publish your presentation? No, no, actually, no. My company has a policy. Well, since or before I gave my first talk, we called a person working at the European Aviation Safety Organization or whatever. We told him, look, he is going to give a talk, and then we met with him. We told him about the contents of my presentation, and every time I give a talk, well, I tell them about the content. When they are not very happy, sometimes they attend the conference, they talk, in a covered manner. They ask questions. They're never happy, but well, they just let me do it. So yes, you can publish it. All right. Thank you so much. That what you just told us will benefit us all and the welcoming generations. Right. That is the drone at the airport. Flying higher. And now we can see some tests. Calibration phase, it seems that it's going to land off. Everything went well. Notice that? Right, that is one of the crashes. Well, this one looks slightly better control, up, down, yes. Okay, it looked like it was about to turn over, but no. Perfect landing. Okay, if you have any questions, thank you for your presentation. Well, it is very much the same than that you gave us last year with just some new things. I work in one of those companies, aviation companies that you mentioned before, in security, by the way. And well, let me tell you a few things. We are always fighting, because we want with safety people for them to understand security, to understand what deliberate attack is. And I am different, from them, so sometimes it's hard work for me. It is true to say that for the last 2 years there has been a growing interest in improving security in general. Well, it's going slowly, but it's going. So it's good to know. That's good piece of information. I understand. I understand the situation, the difficulties that you are facing. I know that security it's one of the least important problems that the aviation world faces. So, but I continue. I'm really concerned about the technologies that are implemented on a daily basis without taking into account, the possible repercussions of them. Well, some of the things that you mentioned are not exactly like that. So some of the things cannot be updated on Teleline. On Teleline, it only helps you update some things that are like minor. FMS cannot do the uploading. You need confirmation. You need the authenticity of the software is confirmed. You have to do it with a crew on board. You cannot really change to attack FMS in a such as you presented. Well, you can do everything, but you can, I don't know, do an overflow. No, no, no. I don't go to airports. I do everything from my sofa. I just don't go physically to the airports. My sofa is much more comfortable. The thing is that I cannot work on that, because I am doing some work in progress. There is some work in progress for the next talk. I would take on board what you are telling me. I will just, give my next talk. In my next talk, I would prove that you are not right. In terms of defense, let me tell you, many military aircrafts, other than combat airplanes, are based on green aircrafts, which are civil aircraft. They share the vulnerabilities of civil aircraft plus military systems. You would be surprised to find out about what you can do with the transmission emission system. Well, talking about civil aviation, it's okay. But they have let me know that military Lin 16, they told me that no to discuss that I don't need to look at or find out new proofs or evidences. You are the first person 1.5 years to have, I don't know, showed up and then, to ask the questions that you just asked. He needs an applause. Give him an applause.
Otro vídeo. Mira, aquí tenemos al niño.
Right? So you see the little boy, better calibration, flying automatic, flies so well, flies much better than I do. It's going up, but the landing is a manual one. But, because of the much better calibration, you see a much better landing, softer landing. Okay. Any questions? Thank you, Hugo, for your talk. Can you modify the black box? Oh, you mean the red one? The black box which is orange? Yes, I also like to say that, that little detail. Yes, the black box, there are two. One that records conversation in the cockpit and the other one that records flight data. Well, if it is generating false data, it will record false data. Well, making a pilot say whatever he doesn't want to say, that is more difficult to manipulate that. So, let us see another fly. I was just testing, the program that takes control of the flight. So we have our little boy flying. Then we apply the exploit. It is not running well. Well, it didn't went as bad. And then we changed to the mode keep still, do not fall. That's what happens with this shell code. With this exploit, do not work well because the plane says, okay, I am falling. Anything else? Any other questions? Hello, Hugo. Good morning. Congratulations for your presentation. The topic that you are sharing. Well, would you please? Well, I heard, or apparently it is already official, to use mobile telephony during the flight. Okay, so what is your opinion? What can you tell us about that? Now passengers can use the mobile phones on their flights. Congratulations for your presentation. Thank you so much. Well, regarding the use of mobile phones, computers on flight, it was forbidden, was not allowed. For the last few months, the US, it is allowed, yes, you can use electronic equipment throughout the flight. Europe follows suit. A few months later, also authorized that or allowed that. Now you can do that. Well, some airlines allow you to do that or not. In terms of dangers of that, no dangers. The only problem, because they are offering Wi-Fi networks, telephony networks, Well, if someone starts to play around with the network and then, does not let other passengers use the network because that is a public network. Well, as long as that public network is not connected with the aviation network. I have evidence. Well, I've talked to manufacturers of these systems and they have confirmed me that no, public network is not connected to aviation systems. Okay. For instance, to use A-cars to download information real time, such as, I don't know, for instance, the list of films. So as long as well, if there is a link, no matter how secure it is, how unidirectional it is, well, if there is a link, I think it would be. I would say that is a bad decision. Okay, I just leave it there. Okay, so just one more question from me. So if I have my Android is rooted and I go to what's my IP, and if I have the IP address of the flight I am in, can I hijack that? No, 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 no. You cannot hijack it. Okay, do not go too far. IP, yes. Well, it's likely you are likely to get it. Yes, but that airline, you know, has implemented a system on board, you know. Well, if that happens, you know, well, I don't know what to say, if you could really get access to the acres, but I don't think you can do that. Well, and it's standing still, and that is the flight plan. Okay, and now this one starts to go around. Okay, this is the last video. Any other questions, or you are just ready for coffee? Wonderful presentation. Hacking World is starting to be introduced into TV series. Have you seen Hawaii 5th season, chapter 18, where we have a little boy hacking? I haven't watched it, okay? I'm giving you that piece of information so that you take a look at it. Well, they told me about the story. 19-year-old hacks aircraft. Did they contact you? Did they ask you for advice? Yes, I have an email actually proving that. Yes, they contacted me. But they asked me for advice. And then when they found out about the limitations of reality, well, they didn't go on with the communication. Have you seen Person of Interest Season 4, Chapter 13? Actually, they did not contact me, but then, yes, out of a sudden there is a character that exploits the FMS of the plane using data link by satellite, but then at the end of the day cannot control the plane because it has been, yes, there is a problem there. Yes, 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 hacking is more and more on media. All right, I have no more videos. Well, if there are any other questions, happy to take them. Hello. Thank you so much for your talk. To what extent piloting of the aircraft depends on the machine or on the pilot? So, for instance, if you're flying and you notice that someone has introduced the system, well, first of all, you really need to notice that someone. Well, it will take a long time for a pilot to realize or to see on the checklist that the system has been hacked. But yes, you are right. Well, aircraft fly in two modes, manual or automatic. On manual, the pilot, follows the instruments, and that's the flight director uses the flight director to fly the plane, for the landing, for the takeoff, for the approaching, two pink stripes, two white stripes, and it tries to equal them, okay, equals them, okay, to me that's a video game. Then automatic pilot does exactly the same, doesn't show it on the screen and does that automatically. Both received information, what they have to do from FMS. One automatic pilot does it right away, whereas the manual pilot, does it by following the pink and white stripes, okay, or lines. And I guess, yeah, that for instance, if automatic flight doesn't go well, the pilot would go manual. So if you apply the payload load at the right time, the reaction time of the pilot is so limited that he's very likely not to be able to react. And then your actions, whatever they are, can be easily executed.